The Indianapolis Colts have been the definition of mediocrity. Over the last 3 seasons, they have not won more than 10 games in a single season, and they have not boasted a top 10 offense in any of those 3 years. For the Colts to make a legit playoff run and have an elite offense, they need to be bold, they need to be brave, and they need to do something different. And I'm going to tell you what they need to do, and this is going to start off hot. We are going to bench, hear me out, we are going to bench the 3 best players on this offense, with the exception of Quentin Nelson, who will still be starting. We're going to be benching Jonathan Taylor. We're going to be benching Michael Pittman and new draftee Tyler Warren. Now, before anyone clicks off this video, this is bold. This is risky. It could backfire, but, and this is a big but, what do you have to lose if you're the Indianapolis Colts? You got to go bold. Here's my strategy. So, you don't have an elite quarterback. You've got Anthony Richardson. You've got Danny Dimes. You've got a good run game with Jonathan Taylor, but we're going off of that. And you don't have an elite receiver. You don't have an elite tight end yet. You need to get creative. And here's what we're going to do. If we can't win football in the traditional way, we have to change the game that we're playing. We can't just line up a normal offense. We are undermanned. We don't have the firepower. We cannot get it done. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to have an unbalanced offensive line. We're going to have a center with 5 offensive linemen lined up to the right. Now, 2 of them will technically be eligible receivers at tight end position, but we're going to have a center with 5 offensive linemen lined up to the right half of him, and then 1 offensive lineman lined up to the left. Now, you think that's crazy. We're just getting started. In the backfield, we are going to have Danny Dimes and Anthony Richardson, both of them. Now, a wide receiver, it's not super crazy. We got Adonai Mitchell and Alex Pierce. The reason we benched Pittman and Warren we'll get to in just a second. Now, here is my strategy. You might be looking at this and you're like, you got 2 quarterbacks, you got 7 offensive linemen. What is going on? As I had mentioned earlier, we need to play in a different style. If you're playing basketball and they're just better than you, you got to get creative. We're going to shoot a lot of threes. We're going to only run pick and rolls, double pick and... you got to change the game. The Colts cannot win a straight drop back pass game, a traditional running game with JT. So we got the 2 quarterbacks, we got the offensive line, we got these receivers. Now here's the big benefit, and here's where it gets interesting. We would by far have the heaviest offensive line in the NFL. We've got 7 blockers. We're going to have, obviously, Quentin Nelson, and then just the traditional offensive line with 2 tackles on the end. Heaviest offensive line in the NFL. Some teams will run 6 offensive linemen. The Buffalo Bills did it quite a few times last year. We're going to have 7. We are going to have 7 offensive linemen, which causes problems for the defense. What kind of personnel do they want to run? Do you really want to run your traditional? A lot of teams are in kind of a 3-3-5 nowadays with 5 DBs, 3 D linemen, 3 linebackers because of the pass first offense. You can't run 3 defensive linemen if I've got 7 offensive linemen. So it causes some problems there, which we'll touch on later in this video. Another thing I like with this, having 2 big quarterbacks. This really works with the Colts. They have 2 guys, 6'4", 230, 235, both run sub 4.7. It's crazy. And we get an extra blocker there. Now, a big thing on why run games are not super efficient if you don't have a running quarterback is you lose a blocker. Most drop back passers, when they hand the ball off, they're going to have 9 blockers. They're the stationary quarterback and then the ball carrier. So the defense ideally will have 2 people unblocked, but possibly 3 or 4. With this lineup, we have 7 excellent blockers, and then the backfield, the guy that doesn't have the ball, is big, he's athletic, he's fast, he can block to a degree. And then we've got misdirection, which we'll also touch on later in the video, which causes more problems for the defense. Now, about the offset line, a lot of you guys are like, well, why don't you just line up normally with, a balanced line? The reason why we're setting up with the offset line is we're going to cause 2 problems. Number one, where does that second defensive lineman, I'm going to assume, and my plays that I've drawn up are going to be more for 5 defensive linemen. I've thrown a lot of different fronts at this, and I think 5 D linemen, 3 linebackers, and 3 DBs makes the most sense. If they don't run that, they've got separate problems that we can expose. But with this, with the offset line, you're going to have a defensive end to the left on the weak side, outside of that guard/tackle. But you cannot line up directly over the center, so that causes a problem. Do you line up this second defensive lineman from left to right? Do you line him up on the weak side, or do you line him up on the strong side? Now, there's problems. If you line him up on the weak side, we're going to have 5 blockers with angles on 3 defensive linemen, and then we've got 2 ball carriers that can go in either direction or the same direction, and that's a problem. So you would think that they would line him up on the right half. Okay, well, now we've got the center with perfect leverage to get a seal block. Now we've got this one defensive end, and there's just going to be one linebacker out here to handle 2 ball carriers if we run a speed option. So there's problems there. Where does that second defensive lineman from left to right line up? Now, another thing that is going to be somewhat interesting with the offset line, aside from the problem of where does the defense line up, because there's going to be holes anywhere, is this is a unique offense for multiple different reasons, but this is a unique formation that a lot of teams won't be prepared for. You're not going to practice this, you're not going to spend the whole offseason preparing for the one team on your schedule that runs an offset line. So every team by default is going to be somewhat unprepared for this. This isn't like a rushing quarterback like Lamar Jackson. A lot of people will say the first time you play him it's tough, but after that it gets easier because you can see the speed. You can get an athletic quarterback on the practice squad to run this. You're not going to have a team, a full 11 guys, that can run this 2 quarterback offense with 7 offensive linemen on an offset line. It's not practical. Now, the fourth benefit and advantage we get here is we get 2 passing quarterbacks. Now, I know a lot of you are like, oh, Danny Dimes and AR-15. If you've got 2 quarterbacks, you've got none. And for the most part, that is true. Neither of these guys can execute at a high level in a drop-back passing situation. Most defenses got 2 safeties deep. You're in cover 3, you're in cover 4, you're in cover 6. They cannot succeed in that situation. But we are changing the game. Only 3 DBs, presumably, 2 wide receivers. You're going to get man coverage with a deep safety. That's pretty much it. There's not much you can do with 3 DBs. Maybe you double one of the receivers. You help a linebacker out shallow on the other receiver. But for the most part, we're going to get man coverage or just cover 3. But either way, it is very simple. Both of these quarterbacks can thrive in that system. And in addition to that, we have 2 quarterbacks rolling left, rolling right, out of the read option, out of the speed out option. They can throw from so many different angles. We can roll out the pocket to the right. Oh, we've got AR-15 coming on a read option, and he's on the left. And now we've got a quarterback sprinting left, and now we cause the defense more problems. We've got 2 guys. They can really stretch the field. We can roll the pocket out to the false side. We can roll the pocket out with the quarterback. Causes a lot of problems because we're not throwing from a traditional angle. Now, speed on the outside. The reason why I picked Adonai Mitchell and Alex Pierce, they both run 4.4s. Adonai Mitchell actually runs a 4.38. But the speed is going to be especially beneficial in the situation. You'll see with some plays that I'm going to draw up and show on the screen here. Adonai Mitchell and Alex Pierce presumably will be in man-to-man coverage with a safety over the top. These are speed receivers, and you cannot bring that safety and or corner. It probably honestly makes sense to have 3 corners on the field and not right safety. If you bring that safety, if you promise defending the run and you want to help out, kind of show to that weak side so you can have those 4 defensive linemen to the right side of the center. If you roll that safety down to the weak side, now you've got 2 man-to-man receivers. We snap it to either quarterback, whoever's the better drop-back passer, and we just send them both on go balls. I mean, is AR-15 an elite passer? No. Adonai Mitchell man-to-man coverage on a cornerback. I mean, that's easy all day, simple read. That's easy. I mean, any quarterback can make that throw. A D3 college quarterback can make that throw. So that speed keeps the defense honest. It also causes some problems on some end arounds, on some screens where we've got a lot of D linemen, we've got a lot of linebackers. The thing is, with all of our offensive linemen, the defense has to adjust their personnel to our offense. So now instead of having 5 speed guys and some athletic linebackers, you're going to only get 3 speed defenders and some bigger linebackers to handle that run game. Now, another thing that I'd like to address here is a lot of defenses only will dress 5 defensive linemen, only dress 4 or 5 linebackers. Now, if they're playing us, they're probably going to bring some guys up from the practice squad, but herein lies another advantage that we have. We are prepping from the offseason to run this. Our whole team is prepped for this. NFL teams are going to have to bring up 6, 7, 8. They're going to have to dress all these defensive linemen, and we can get their best players off the field. Most NFL teams design their team. They've got 4 D linemen, 3 D linemen. They've got 3 or 4 linebackers. They've got 5 or 6 good DBs. We are taking away good DBs. You're going to spend all that money in the secondary, not going to have them out on the field. You're going to spend a lot of money on the pass rush. Doesn't make sense. We're not a team that you need a pass rush. So we're wasting the other team's best players. They have to get these. I mean, your 5th defensive lineman, if you're an NFL fan, your 5th defensive lineman, you might not even know unless you're a serious fan because they never see the field. So we get to play on our terms. We make the other team adjust to us. They have to play worse players than they normally would to address our personnel. Now, the 6th benefit is it's going to help your own defense. We're going to be primarily running the football, screen plays, end arounds. We're going to be running the clock on every single play. There's not going to be many incomplete passes. That helps your defense, obviously. And that's not a unique benefit because the Ravens, the Eagles, any team that runs the football a lot and has a short passing game, so not high completion percentage, the clock is running a lot. Your defense gets to rest. It's kind of a traditional benefit. The 7th benefit, and this is huge as well, is 2-point plays / 4th and short. With this unique formation, and you've got 2 rushers, you got a heavy offensive line, you got speed that they have to respect, this is an absolutely killer formation. You're on the 2-yard line for 2-point conversions, or 4th and 1, 4th and 2, 4th and 3. Going to get a lot of explosive plays out of this, and because of our style of play, similar to the Ravens, when Lamar Jackson was running the read option with Mark Ingram back when they started, there'd be a bunch of 4th and 1s where Lamar would break it for a touchdown. We're so used to this kind of short yardage package with physicality. We've got 2 big quarterbacks that are fast with all these offensive linemen. And then you've got the end around threat where the defense has to shift if Adonai Mitchell runs into the backfield and you think he might be spacing the field to the right, to the left. There's a lot of things to worry about, and we are going to be the best, other than the Eagles with the tush push, we're going to be the best short yardage team in the NFL. Now, the last benefit, and I kind of touched on this earlier, is if you can't be better, you have to be different. And that is very important. A lot of people are going to scoff at this idea. They're going to say, no, that can't work. This is a high school offense. This is like a D17, That's not the point. It's better. The Colts have been 9-8, 8-9, 4-12. You need to be bold. No one wants to be the 16th best team in the NFL. This is exciting. This is something that if it works out, you can dominate at least for a season. Now in the offseason, if let's say you go 18-0, now teams are preparing for you. That's where it gets interesting. Other teams are getting personnel to stop you in division rivals, in conference rivals. If this works out, and it works out in a big way, other teams are going to prepare for it, and then it gets tougher to run. But it's exciting, it's innovative, and you need a big change. Now let's get into some of the plays. Okay, so this first play kind of causes a lot of the problems that I was talking about. You've got the quarterback, which it can be either one. I'm not super specific on if the quarterback under the center is going to be Danny Dimes or AR-15. It doesn't really matter to me. I was talking a lot about where that second defensive lineman lines up from left to right. In this play, he's lining up on the right side of the center because you can't line up on top of him. Snaps the ball to the quarterback. We've got Quentin Nelson, who I'm moving to right guard. I know he's a left guard, but I think it makes more sense for him to be on the strong side of the offensive line. You snap it to the quarterback. You run a speed option. You get a double team on the middle linebacker. You get the puller out there, and then you've got numbers. I mean, look, the wide receiver is going to block the corner decently. You've got two athletic big quarterbacks on one outside linebacker in a lot of space. They get to that space even quicker because there's no tight ends, there's no tackle on that side. So you get to that space quickly, you get uphill fast, and that linebacker's in a problem. He's in a bind. I mean, he probably wants to take the outside guy and then let the safety clean that up and then let the strong side linebacker roll over top. But that's a splash play. Now, in this next play, they're like, okay, we can't let them get numbers to the outside. We're going to take that away. Okay, now my quarterback sees that. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to call power. It's not really a power play because we're not pulling anyone, but we're running a quarterback draw to the right side, and we've got 3 double teams, and the first man that's going to come in contact with our quarterback is the safety / cornerback. Anthony Richardson with a full head of steam on a safety and our corner. I like that. Now we've got another play here, and this is going to be a read option. Now we've got the defensive lineman on the left side once again, and this is how we can expose the numbers here. We're going to pull the left guard. We're going to run the quarterback out. If that defensive end and or linebacker both crash on that, he's going to hand it off. And we've got numbers. Once again, we get a double team, and we get another blocker, and the only guy that's going to meet this, I guess that'd be Danny Dimes if we got Anthony Richardson at quarterback, is going to be the safety. That's another big play waiting to happen. Now, a lot of you are like, oh, you can't just be running the ball every play, and I get that. Now we've got some screens. We've got the quarterback. He is going to roll right. We've got the left guard pulling. We've got all these offensive linemen moving right. And the linebackers, I'm not sure why I didn't draw them on this play, but the linebackers on the second level are all going to be shifting right. And then all of a sudden, they feel this slant coming behind them. And they're like, is this some sort of RPO, but without a running back? So then the linebackers are going to shift right. The safety is going to drop right. Bam. We've got the center. We've got the right guard. And we've got the quarterback / running back. We've got a jailbreak screen. And you're going to have numbers on this as well. And if you don't have numbers on that, and they don't react to the quarterback rollout, which you can run that if you've got space on the outside. And if the linebackers cut that off, you can throw it a slant if you've got one-on-one coverage there. We got another pass play here. We are rolling out. Now, one negative to this offset line is the pass rush to the weak side can get there quickly. So what we're going to want to do on kind of traditional drop back passes is we're going to want to roll right a little bit. On this play, we've got one of our quote-unquote tight ends, which is an offensive lineman. He's going to kind of pull in to a spot that would normally be filled by a running back. With our speed, we've got a drag route coming across. Hopefully a linebacker would pick that up. And then we've got a wide receiver who's going to be kind of exposing that deep safety. When we're running to the corners or when we're running short, that deep safety can't help out a ton. So this corner on the left side is going to have to chase this receiver across the field. Maybe we get speed on that. If not, it's not an issue. If we don't get space on that, we've got this wide receiver on this slant and corner. Safety cannot really help from that position. So we should have a one-on-one there. As well, we have Danny Dimes and our Anthony Richardson kind of helping out blocking, but then leaking out to the left. He can get into a wheel route potentially. He can get into the flat if it's on a linebacker. With this cornerback being taken across the middle of the field, if they're running man and not zone, we have a linebacker on Anthony Richardson in open field all by himself. I like that as well. Next thing we've got here is we're actually going to have the second quarterback line up to the right. We're going to run a read option here. Now, there's a lot of things going on. You can hand this off, obviously, if it looks good. If not, he's going to run out into the flat. This wide receiver is going to stay, hug the sideline. So we've got a deep shot potential there. We've got this wide receiver is coming over to kind of pull this linebacker, the strong side linebacker, kind of pull him backwards, pull the safety, potentially kind of get three guys defending him. We're going to have an off. Now, you can't be running this often because if the defense gets used to it, kind of kills the novelty, and then people are going to be expecting it, and that's not as useful. Maybe once a game on a 3rd and 1, on a 4th and 1, we leak the inside tight end, which is an eligible receiver, which is an offensive lineman. We leak him out. We've got this backup quarterback who's athletic and fast running out to the left flat. We've got this wide receiver, Adonai Mitchell, running a deep go. If they're blitzing, if they're coming hard, if he's dropping out, that strong side linebacker, you are going to have this offensive lineman wide open. And I know you're like, oh, the offensive lineman, he's not reliable. Do we really want to throw to him? We can't throw to a wide open professional athlete. Are you serious? Come on. He can catch that if he's wide open. If he's not, that's okay. We've got the deep ball, which he should be able to throw to, and or the quarterback. Now, we got another play here. Play number 7. What's interesting about this play is we're going to motion out the quarterback, which it's going to sound crazy, but on a linebacker, Anthony Richardson, I like that matchup. I know he's not a route runner. I know a lot of you guys are, come on. Listen, same thing with Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson's not as big, so I wouldn't like this as much, but Anthony Richardson, you motion him out, and you can kind of see if you're in man or zone coverage. You get Anthony Richardson on the left side, you can kind of set that natural pick. If they switch it, you got the cornerback defending Anthony Richardson. You got the wide receiver on the linebacker in a lot of space. That's if they switch it. If they don't switch it, you can take that deep shot to Anthony Richardson. Now, do I love it? No. Do I really want to be thrown with a below average quarterback to another quarterback? Probably not on a deep shot like that. But regardless, the slant is going to be somewhat open because of the rub concept. If the cornerback fights below it, maybe you can get a splashy, explosive play. Now, as you guys can see in this picture, you've got the safety lining up on the left side. If he lines up on the left side with just two linebackers in the middle, you got a one-on-one with Alex Pierce. That's another exploitable option. Now, I've got him kind of rolling over to help out, and that's why we can take the deep shot or the slant. But yeah, overall, these are just kind of a few plays I've drawn up, but the concepts are pretty easy to see. We're going to be exploiting size and spacing, and that's the main thing with this offense is that second defensive lineman is key on all these run plays. And secondary, what are you going to do in the secondary? The tough thing with this is you cannot send out 5 DBs. Could you send out 4? Maybe, but if you've got 4 DBs, that means we've got 7 offensive linemen on what would you be sending out? What would it be, 60 linemen, 1 linebacker, and 4 DBs? I guess you could do that. It causes you some problems, in terms of speed. You're going to be pretty slow with 60 linemen. And then the secondary, if those secondary players are going to be expected to make tackles, do you really want cornerbacks and safeties trying to make tackles on Anthony Richardson with a full head of steam? Probably not. So I think this formation, I think this personnel that we're running, 2 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, 7 offensive linemen, I think this is a legitimate way for the Indianapolis Colts to change the game. Like I said, if you cannot win the game of football, you've got to change the playing field. And the Colts cannot win. That is the most important part of this. You've got to get creative. This is creative. Will it work? I'm not 100% sure. In a high school or college setting, probably it's innovative. You'd be practicing it. It'd be tough to stop in a high school or college level. In the professional level, would it work? I honestly cannot tell you, but it'd be interesting to watch. And for that reason, you guys need to be telling the Colts, offset line, both quarterbacks, And then, obviously you're like, well, it's kind of weird that we're benching Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, and Tyler Warren. I wouldn't be opposed to, in certain packages, having Warren and Pittman line up a tight end on this offset line. I think that would be interesting in certain packages, especially if it's let's say you get into a 3rd and 15. You probably want as many good receivers as possible. So I'm not completely, kicking them off the team. But Jonathan Taylor, I don't think there's a great place for him. Potentially, there are packages with him lining up as the weak side wide receiver in Adonai Mitchell's spot. And he can get into end arounds, he can get into read options. So we could have a triple option with passing attack coming out of that. That is something you could do as well. But this Adonai Mitchell, Alex Pierce, Danny Dimes, AR-15 lineup, I think would kill.